What's up, Juventini? What went down in the final hours of the Mercato? Kolo Muani and PSG and Comolli pivoting and a wingback deal that got rejected in the end. It's all done business. How did Comolli do and how did he score for you? We look at the business done with two trends coming out of it that we have to keep eyes on. I'm Berto. This is the AJC, your channel dedicated to Juventus. It's September 2nd. Let's get to the news now. We'll start things with the final hours of the Mercato. Apparently, PSG did soften their stance on Kolo Muani because we saw him leave on just a season-long loan and end up joining Tottenham. Now, Juventus was working on him for so long. PSG finally ended up softening their stance that late in the window, but guess what? Comolli had already pivoted to Openda, and that was far too long. PSG acted ridiculous with a player that gave their direction as far as the will and where they wanted to head, and PSG was brutal. So to them, I give them a te. And ultimately, Comolli did too and pivoted, and I'm glad he did. Even though I did want Kolo Muani to return to Juventus, you have to set the tone somewhere. When it comes to Klaus, he was the move in the late hours of the window. However, it didn't happen because Nice ended up rejecting a move and ended up deciding against sending him away. So the Mercato closes for Juventus. We will look at the business from a financial aspect. Comolli has closed this summer with a balance sheet of negative 26 million. However, it is expected to stand towards the actual 26 balance to have a positive impact of 35.4 million euros. Now, when you look at the business in and out, you have Conceição, Gigrova, João Mario, Openda, and Jonathan David. As far as the outgoings, you have Costa, Savona, Imbangula, Jalo, Douglas Luiz, Gonzalez, Weah, and Artur on a loan. Now, when you score this Mercato, everybody seems to be having different thoughts on how we finished. Some scoring it actually fairly low, some scoring it very, very high. I'm pretty much in the middle. I'm going to score it a 6.5. It would have got a higher score if we could have found some coverage at wing back. And I'm still concerned about center back. And I think center back was a higher priority than we actually showed in the window. I do think some of the selling prices were pretty low, but ultimately it's not bad. I'm going to go with a 6.5. It wasn't a stellar Mercato for me, but it wasn't a bad Mercato in the end because whether it was late or not, he ended up giving us some good coverage. The attack is strong. I think in midfield, we will be fine. At the back, with wing back especially, and maybe having one solid defender come in as a center back, that's probably where we have some concerns due to injuries if something were to happen. But ultimately, I'm going to go 6.5. Rate it. Two trends, though, we must watch out for are this. There was no moves this window with Italian clubs. Not a single one. There was obligations to be paid to Italian clubs from previous business from the other window, but Comolli did not do a piece of business with an Italian club. When you get to the other trend, going back to the past Mercato, these past two windows, we have only signed one Italian player. So there are a couple of trends to follow. In the end, this is our window. Comolli took care of it. Now we are set to sign a sporting director. And again, this will be the next wave of news. Who is going to be that next sporting director at Juventus? But for Comolli, he took care of this 25-26 season window. And how do you think he did? What do you like? What don't you like about the business he took care of? And what do you think about those trends? You know what to do, everybody. Hit me in the comments. Don't forget to like the video and, of course, subscribe to the channel. And we'll be keeping you in the loop on the Juventus news and have some fun around the international break before waiting to get back to action against Inter Merda. Until next time, as always, fino alla fine, forza Juventus. Ciao tutti.